about making video games and use it to take those old tabletop games we love to kind of another level. So that's the idea. So basically, we do that in two ways. So Golem Arcana, first of all, I should say, it's a fantasy war game. It's a game about a battle between two giant fantasy empires. Their weapons and choices are these golems. These golems are these giant magical constructs that are piloted into battle by these knights, these sorcerer knights. You can see the little human figure there that's piloting the golem on top. Every one of these has one of those. So I mentioned we use the technology to take the gameplay to new places. The first way we do that is we use the technology, the smart device, the phone, the tablet, to make the game super simple, accessible, and fast to play. So there's no rule book in the game at all. You learn by playing. You unbox it, it tells you to lay a couple tables down, throw some figures down, and a tutorial game is going to walk you through how the whole game plays. Also, all that rules type stuff that takes up a lot of time and a lot of brain space playing these games, the app manages all of it. So, a typical thing, like, I'm trying to remember, what's the cover bonus if I'm in the woods again? All I have to do is just tap one of these spaces here, and the app is just going to recap all the relevant rules about it right there. So, super simple. It turns out you could play a moderately sized game of Golem Arcana in about 25 minutes. And, after we started playing this, we realized that all those old tabletop games we love, we became conscious of just how much of that time we were spending looking up rules, trying to figure out what the modifier was, all that. It's like a breath of fresh air playing this. I just concentrated on having fun and making my strategy and moving my pieces around. Okay, so how all this works, by the way, is we have this device we call the TDI stylus, and this little device here is a Bluetooth device that communicates back to the smartphone or tablet. Now, all the game pieces, the board, the cards, the stickers are on the base of the figures. They're all imprinted with a microscopic mesh of dots, and there's a little optical sensor in the end of here that reads those dots, and that's how we transmit stuff back to the tablet. So let me show you this kind of in action, how this would work. Let's say I wanted to move a character on here, right? So I'm going to move this guy, and I'm going to move him into this guy's square. I'm going to see if I can move him into that guy's square so they can fight, right? So these golems all have abilities, these individual abilities. They're printed around the base. So this guy, for instance, can bite, he can hamstring, he can do all that. It's also printed on these cards, the abilities. That's what each of these are. So to activate an ability, I just touch the ability on the base of the golem or on the card, and that ability is active. So for instance, if I want this guy to move, I activate his walk. And now the app has just lit up, and what the app is showing me is it's actually showing me every legal space he can possibly move to right now, taking into account his movement allowance, the terrain that's in the way, all that stuff. So to move, I touch walk on here, I touch the square I want him to move into, that's going ahead and showing me that's a legal move. I press the confirm button and I just moved in there. So again, I didn't have to remember any of that movement point stuff. What does it cost to move through the water? Any of that, the app did all that. Okay, now, similarly, suppose I want to attack. That's why I moved in there. Same concept, basically. I'm going to bite him now. So I've got this bite ability. So to go ahead and trigger that, I'm going to tap bite on there. Comes up on the screen. Now I tap the target. So I tap the character that I want to attack.
You can tap it anywhere?
Anywhere. So bite, tap the target, and now what the app has done is it's just done all of that gamer math for you. It's just figured out, okay, well your chance to hit is this, and you've got a modifier for that, and the guy's dodge and everything, and it's broken it all down, and basically what that's saying is, I've got a 67% chance to hit, and I'm likely to do 17 damage if I do. That's what it's saying. Now, if I want to, I can at any time, I can drill in here, and I press a button on the stylus, and I drill in, and it'll go ahead and it'll show me step by step how I broke that down. It's 67% because your accuracy is this, and you have this modifier and all that stuff. That's important, as a gamer I want to understand that sometimes, but now not so much. So, if that's good, I just press the button to make that attack. I roll a 76, which is a miss, and I missed. All handled by the app. So again, very simple. Just tap the character that you want to make the attack, tap the target, and then the app figures everything out and does all that kind of stuff away. Now, the real depth in gameplay is several of these attacks and abilities on these different golems have special results when you use them. So, for instance, this guy here, the Sand Lion, he has an ability called Hamstring. That's one of his attacks here. It's called Hamstring, and the little dot next to it means there's something special that happens when you use Hamstring. It's explained on the back of the card. And basically what that means is, if he successfully hamstrings you, it eliminates your dodge for the next few turns, making you easier for other golems to hit. So the depth in gameplay is really about building armies, choosing these various golems, putting them together in armies, and choosing the right set of golems so you can use those special capabilities in concert to do interesting things. That's where the depth and the strategy comes from. So as an example of that, there's one golem we call the Jeweled Harpy, and she can beat her wings, and by doing that, she can move enemies around the game board. She can create air currents that move enemies around the game board. This guy here, who's another golem of that same type, he has an area effect attack. This guy, we call him the Fire Ram. He can launch an attack that affects all golems in the enemy region. So, for instance, I might put the two of them together in my army, use the Jeweled Harpy to push enemies all together in one square, and then launch his big attack to affect them all at the same time. So, that's the basics. Now, a couple of other things. So in addition to these physical golems in the armies, we also have some digital characters that we place inside your army. So I mentioned before that every one of these is being piloted by a little sorcerer. The sorcerer is actually a digital character who has powers and abilities of his own, a pilot. And so you obtain those inside the app. Like a whole scat of them, 80 or 90 of them come free with the app, and then eventually you'll have the ability to micro purchase new ones. So if I want to, for instance, see what this pilot is capable of, who's flying the Wing Preserver, I just touch this little pilot icon on the card here, and the stylus may have turned itself off because I've been talking for a while.
Stuck in the combat still? So it says your roll up.
That was it. Thank you. There, I had it. Okay. So I just tapped his knight icon on his card, and that's actually the sorcerer knight who's piloting that golem. And you can see there that he has a special ability of his own called Weapon Vent. And basically what he does when he activates that, he can restore all the golem's weapons to firing, be ready to fire again. Is kind of what that is. So, useful power to have. The last component in your army, the last thing that you can place in your army are what we call Ancient Ones. And I can look at the Ancient Ones in my army by just pressing this Ancient One thing on the control card here. And Ancient Ones are basically gods. And what you buy with your army points, you buy an Ancient One, you're buying a favor from that god that you can call upon in the middle of the battle. And so this guy here, for instance, he's got 3 things he can do. Blessings, curses, and miracles. These are basically magic spells that the gods can rain down on the whole battlefield and affect their opponents. So for instance, his first one is called the Stinger. And what that is he can throw that down on a region. It's a curse, and anytime an enemy in that region uses a weapon to attack from there, there's a little penalty associated with it. So you can create this.
You can see those areas.
Yeah,
if they're persistent, they'll show up.
They'll show up on the map, and there are little tokens that come with the game to mark where those are, that you drop them down on the board when they happen. And so that basically is Golem Arcana in a nutshell. If you like.
How do you, so I mean the base set comes with enough to play with 2 players?
Yes, the base set comes with 6 of these double-sided tiles, 6 pre-painted golem figures, and all the cards and dice and the TDI stylus.
How do you form a team or a party?
So it's basically an army building game. So inside the software app, there's an army builder option, and much like you might build an army for Warhammer or War Machine or a game like that, you assign golems to the army. You have a certain point value you're shooting for. So by golems, Ancient Ones, and pilots, exactly, and you put them together to form an army. And as I said, a lot of the depth of gameplay comes from almost like a deck building game, putting the right army together to use those powers in concert.
Great.
There's an action point cost printed on it. So basically, go ahead and divide up your 6 action points any way you like. Well, I can walk you through what these numbers mean if you like too.
You take all 6 actions like one after the other, or is it back and forth?
You can. So first, to explain these numbers, the first is the action point cost. This is a movement ability. The second is just how far you can move with it, how many squares. Terrain will affect that, of course, but that's movement. That one's simple. Notice this guy can both fly and walk, which is pretty interesting. Now, these attack abilities, what the numbers mean, first is action point cost, use the attack. The second is what we call the accuracy. That's the percent chance for the attack to hit, essentially. The basic 2-hit mechanic is your accuracy, 75, minus the opponent's dodge, which would be 20 in his case. That would be a 55% chance to do that to him. Mm-hmm. The third number is damage. So that's the base damage the attack does. You take from that damage, you subtract the target's armor. That's how much damage you take. And then the last number is the range, if it has any, in squares. Now, attacks come in 2 basic types, melee and ranged. The melee attacks have the fist next to it. The ranged attacks have a lightning bolt. In order to make a melee attack against an enemy, you have to be in the same region with him as that. Ranged attacks, you can't target someone in your same region. You have to use melee.
Is 2, 1, 2?
Yes. Now, so to your question about using the action points, can I use the action points to do the same thing over and over? For instance, if I have 6 AP, can I just lightning bolt 6 times? The answer is yes, you can do that, but there's a little twist. One of those concepts that we borrowed from video games is what we call cooldown. What they call cooldown in most video games. So the first time you take this action, its AP cost is actually going to get higher each time you do it in sequence until you haven't used it for a turn or two, and then it comes back down to that cost, if you follow me.
All right.
So you are these characters. Why don't you go ahead and
Alright, so if I want to say move this guy, protect this guy, because I can fly,
yep.
I'll try it.
Okay, so activate fly, so you can touch the fly on this card.
Fly.
Oh, I'm sorry, first you have to press the big button to confirm that you're starting your turn.
Around there, sorry.
Okay, now activate the fly.
Put it down and push?
Just hold it over there, and fly is activated. And now just touch that guy's square.
Alright.
And it's showing, okay, and then you press the button and it shows that that's a legal move, and you're in there now.
Okay, so now if I want to attack him, so that was already 2 action points?
Yep,
or
and
3,
it shows you here, you have 3 left.
Alright.
So for instance, if you wanted to use your scythe, which is your melee thing,
yeah,
just hold it over that, and you should do like straight down, and there you go, side. Now touch his base anywhere you, it's got to be the sticker on the side.
Any sticker there.
Okay, and it showed you had a 67% chance to hit. You actually click the button.
Oh, so
while
I
you're
only
doing
touch, and when I click the button, then it actually does.
Click the button is to confirm, exactly. So you hit with a roll of 3. You did 23 points of damage to him.
Okay.
And you've got 1 action point left.
Okay, so can I do lightning bolt next?
Actually what it does is it gets converted into something we call mana. And I remember I talked about the ancient ones earlier. The mana is what they expend to cast those spells.
So unused action points.
Unused become mana, and actually that's what it's showing you up here. The little 0 next to that diamond, that's how much mana you currently have.
Alright, well, I might as well just use the last one right here, so.
Okay. So you're not going to be able to target him with the lightning bolt because that's a ranged attack and he is in your square, but you could, for instance, shoot him with that.
Okay, so there's no facing it.
Yeah, there's no facing, right.
So if I touch him right now?
Could you please? Thanks. So,
I just looked over and realized you're going to press right.
Thank you. I'm actually, I've got another appointment, but it was really a pleasure speaking.